Often when we think about nutrients, we think about those that are important to a healthy lifestyle, but out in nature, too many nutrients can be a bad thing. For years, they've been winding up in Iowa's rivers and eventually in the Gulf of Mexico. 8 years ago, scientists rolled out what they called the nutrient reduction strategy, but progress is stagnant, and climate change is making things more complicated. Local 5 meteorologists Brandon Lawrence and Taylor Canoose explain why this is such an uphill battle.
Personally, I'm a big believer that the climate is changing unless we recognize and accept it and try to plan going forward. I'm very pessimistic about the planet that we're leaving to our kids.
At first glance, water quality and climate change don't necessarily have an obvious connection.
But there is one, and it starts with water runoff. When water moves from farmland to rivers and streams, it carries nutrients with it like phosphorus and nitrogen. Too many of these nutrients have a negative effect on water quality. Heavier rainfall events typically result in excess nutrients in Iowa's waterways.
Climate change is leading to more heavy rainfall events, and as we see more heavy rainfall, it's becoming more and more challenging to combat nutrient contamination in our state's rivers and streams. Every year, nutrient runoff from Iowa and other states in the Mississippi River Basin spills into the Gulf of Mexico, creating an area known as the dead zone. In 2008, 12 states in the Mississippi River Basin, including Iowa, joined together to create a plan to curb the impact of too many nutrients in the water. 5 years later, the nutrient reduction strategy was born.
Well, the strategy's intent was to lay out a plan for reducing nitrogen and phosphorus in the state of Iowa by 45%.
These nutrients come from several sources, like wastewater treatment plants, industrial facilities, and farms. Since the plan's conception, wastewater treatment plants and industrial facilities are showing some improvement.
We're starting to see these plants finally come online, and they can achieve a pretty significant nitrogen reduction.
But agriculture is struggling a bit more and is still responsible for the majority of Iowa's nutrient loss. The strategy outlines ways farmers can reduce nutrient runoff on their property, things like rotating the crops they grow, reducing tillage, and closely monitoring fertilizer application. The most effective practices so far? Permanent structures built on the edge of fields like terraces, saturated buffers, and wetlands. Through a partnership with the state, Dallas County farmer Timothy Minton added wetlands to his property several years ago, effectively reducing nitrate loss by 52%.
So it's really like a storage area for water and letting those nitrates settle out into the pool area.
It's a great tool, but there aren't enough of these structures yet. Only about 100 private wetlands have been installed since 2003, well short of the strategy's goal.
One of the scenarios that the strategy lays out calls for 4,000 wetlands. And you have to engineer, design, work with landowners to locate and find the opportunities for these wetlands. If we were to build a wetland every single day, machines out there, ba-boom, ba-boom, just putting wetlands out to get to 4,000, it would take us 11 years to just build that many wetlands.
Critics of the strategy say things need to change.
The science itself is strong, but without a strong strategy to actually implement the ideas that are in it, it's not going to improve our water quality.
Even with year-to-year fluctuations, Iowa's 5-year running average of nitrate loads in 2020 was nearly twice as high as in 2003. In order to reverse this trend, Alicia Vasto with the Iowa Environmental Council says some of the practices highlighted in the state's nutrient reduction strategy should be mandatory, not voluntary.
A very basic one would be having a buffer along a stream so you can't farm right up to the edge of the stream or into the stream. We should also be regulating the amount of fertilizer that's applied to farm fields. Right now there are recommendations about the amount of fertilizer that's commercial and manure that can go on fields so that it's the right amount for plants to uptake. But when there's too much, all of that excess is going into our waters.
There's a sweet spot somewhere where we coexist. It may be an unholy alliance, some people may call it that, but we think we're all hopefully pulling in the same direction.
Reducing nitrates in the water supply is a topic with no shortage of opinions and no easy solutions.
The good thing is that there's a lot of Iowans and partners and stakeholders care about that. We're fortunate to have an engaged public on this issue.
I think we've evolved. Have we evolved as far as we should have? Probably not. Can we do more? We certainly can.
Legislation about Iowa's water quality was the first bill Governor Kim Reynolds signed into law as governor of Iowa. That was 3 years ago. And last year, she signed another bill extending the funding for the Nutrient Reduction Strategy program. Reynolds says she wants water quality programs to continue to be voluntary, not mandatory.
We're seeing more and more farmers do cover crops, edge of field, bioreactors. I mean, there's a lot of opportunities for them to participate in not only, soil health, but water quality programs as well. So, and the other thing that we're looking at, we think that there's an opportunity with some of the ARPA dollars to really tie that to water quality.
ARPA stands for American Rescue Plan Act. That's billions of dollars given to states from the Biden administration for COVID relief, announced earlier this year.